Welcome to Big Time Paranormal. My name is Larry Gonzalez, and I'm very grateful that you're here. I run a Facebook page called Big Time Paranormal, and I'm assisted by Julia Di Maria, who helps me. We kind of split the day in half. I take care of the night, she takes care of the day, and we post anything that has to do with hauntings, cryptozoology, ufology, metaphysics, and so on. And we tried to make this show kind of reflect what Big Time Paranormal was about. Also, I'm very grateful to Worldwide Paranormal Network, who allows me to come on here each and every week to talk to each one of you. And I get a blast out of doing what I do. So, thank you. So, let's start off with some of the news for the past week. Now, the first story has to do with... This is a story that was in the Philippines. I believe it was July 1st that the story came out, where the students, it was claimed that the students were possessed. So we found some video for it, so we're going to play you some of the video, because actually the video is very long, so we're just going to cut and show you, I think, about 2 minutes of it. So let's take a look at it.
School administrators have suspended classes in an elementary school in Mandaluyong, Eong City on Thursday after evil spirits possessed 20 students, Manila, Philippines. According to the report, around 20 students aged between 12 and 16 started acting strangely, screaming, crying, fainting and convulsing, prompting claims that they were possessed by evil spirits. A grade 8 teacher at the public school, Julia Esparagoza, said the incident started shortly after 9 a.m. and initially involved 2 girls from her section. Esparagoza said that she and her students were in a classroom when one of the girls suddenly stood up and began acting strangely while the other lost consciousness. The teacher added that the girl who stood up had to be restrained at one point since it looked like she was going to attack her unconscious classmate. The woman immediately brought the 2 girls to separate classrooms where their behavior gradually returned to normal. Esparagoza, however, said she later observed the same behavior among her other students who had stepped out of the classroom for their break. According to her, she saw 5 girls and a boy lying on the floor and shaking while others were crying frantically. A male student who refused to be named said he saw one girl convulsing on the ground near the stage in the middle of the playground while another was in tears.
Okay, so what caused them to be so erratic in their with their bodies? I don't know. Were they possessed? I don't know. But it's a strange story nonetheless. Now the next story has to do with crop circles. Now this is something that we haven't really spoken about in the past shows, and this is our 20th week doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a crop circle that appeared on July 3rd in Switzerland. So let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so it's odd. Are they all made by someone? I don't think so. I really believe that if they can prove just even 1% that it's made by something else besides humans, then they really have something right there. So the thing is that I've never been inside a crop circle before. So I found some video of what it's like to be inside a crop circle and walking around. Somebody actually videotaped it and put it on YouTube. So it's kind of eerie. But let's take a look at that video. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, it's very odd. From what I understand, whenever wheat is bent over, it's not broken, it's just bent over, and it's changed at the molecular level. And so what causes it, I have no idea. But it's still pretty interesting to see it. I like to see one up close and personal myself one day. Maybe I'll get that chance. So that's it for the news. Pretty quick this week. Okay, so the next story, or the next segment, has to do with something that's very unique. We've never reported about this kind of stuff before, but since the summer is halfway through, I thought it would be kind of interesting for those of you that live in this area, so maybe that you make a destination of some of these spots. And I'm talking about ghost tours. Now, ghost tours have been popping up all over the place throughout the United States and also through Europe. Excuse me. So what I did was I found some places that has these ghost tours, and of course you can find them anywhere. Any city, large city, tends to have them. It's the smaller cities, especially if there's been if the cities has a lot of historical significance. So the first one has to do with the Ghosts of Gettysburg, Haunted Civil War Battlefield. Now, they just celebrated the start of the Civil War by having reenactments in Gettysburg. And so I thought I would pop this video up for you guys for that one, because apparently this is the big papa of all of them. So let's take a look at the video for this one.
Early morning at Gettysburg is the best time to see the battlefield, I think. Quiet, serene. But don't be alarmed if you get that "I'm not alone" feeling. Thousands of men lost their lives in a brutal fashion in the Battle of Gettysburg. And it's been rumored for many years that their spirits, at least some of them, are still there today. That might explain the booming paranormal business in the town of Gettysburg. But the granddaddy of them all is Mark Nesbitt's Ghost of Gettysburg. When you first walk into their office, you get the feeling of walking into another crafts shop. But if you look a little closer, you soon realize why they were voted the #1 ghost tour in the world. They literally wrote the book, so why not? We signed up for that night, their famous Carlisle Street ghost tour. We're getting ready to go on the Mark Nesbitt Ghost of Gettysburg tour. There's supposed to be 7 of us on the tour, so right now just Colin and myself. So if the other ones are brave enough to show up, we'll get underway. Our group is finally formed and we gather in the courtyard to meet Sandy, our guide for the evening. She quickly grabs our attention with a little history lesson, a few ghost stories, and basically what to expect that night. And soon, we're on our way. We stop along the way at different sites and are treated to tidbits of history as we make our way to our destination, Gettysburg College. For an hour and a half, Sandy amazed us with stories of ghost sightings and ghost hauntings, both past and present. From the very beginning, you're hooked. It's part history, part paranormal. And I guarantee you'll be talking about this tour long after it's over. And as the tour wrapped up in the center of Gettysburg, it struck me. When was the last time you saw 7 teenagers completely mesmerized without one Xbox? Can you think of a better endorsement? A ghost tour is the perfect ending to your Gettysburg vacation. And that little feeling you get, not being alone, maybe you're not.
Okay, so that's that video. The next one we're going to be talking about is introducing the all-new LA Paranormal Tour Company, LA Hauntings. So let's take a look at that video as well.
So Connor, what are we about to do for the first time?
We're
Run our tour route.
Run the tour route. We're going to do a dry run, just the two of us, see how it all works out. But exciting times. Afoot. So we just went through Hollywood. Of course, our weekly tour has to go through Hollywood. Everybody wants to know about Humphrey Bogart, Marilyn Monroe, and all of the ghosts of the silver screen that are still seen in these iconic places like Rahman's Chinese Theater today. In addition, LA has an amazing history, the city itself. We will hit Pueblo de Los Angeles, where the very first settlements were, and right now we're in a place called Moore Hill, where Fort Moore Hill once stood. And right behind me is one of the most architecturally beautiful and unique buildings in Los Angeles is located. I think a lot of people that live here don't even realize it's a school. And what even more people don't realize is that before it was a school, what it was initially was the first Christian cemetery in Los Angeles. But even in 2006, when ground was broken on this school, they continued to find bodies. Now, we actually don't know any information on if the place is haunted, so that's why I'm mentioning this to you in YouTube land now. Have you attended school here? Have you attended an event here? Have you ever had a strange experience? I would imagine that that's possible. So if so, please do leave a comment. But our tours are going to get started pretty soon, and we'll go from downtown LA through Hollywood. It'll be about a 3.5-hour tour, and in time we'll branch out. We'll have more tours that go to the west side, tours in Pasadena. We'll have hiking tours, we'll have walking tours, but we're going to start out with a bus tour through Hollywood and LA, and we hope to see you on one.
Okay, so that's that one. Now the next one is a scary ghost tours to Savannah. Now any of you know that Savannah has a history of a lot of hauntings, and a lot of it has to do with the Civil War and so on. So let's take a look at theirs.
Come see Savannah, Georgia, America's most haunted city like you've never seen it before. You'll learn about the Hampton Lilliebridge House, which has been exorcised twice, the Pirates House, the Keogh Mansion, and the Mercer House. Ride on one of our luxury tour buses complete with LCD screens showing you clips from Ghosts Under Stamps and the scariest places on earth. Are you brave enough to take the tour your friends are too scared to take? Scary Ghost Tours.
Okay, so the next one is, it's going to actually be in London. We're going to go outside of the country for this one. And this is Jack the Ripper Tour, London Ghost Walk. So let's take a look at that video.
Right down here in front of us. She walked over there towards our right where the junction is, and just beyond it, halfway up the street, she met a man. We know that because she was spotted, and she brought him back to where the car park area is, and that man was Jack the Ripper.
That one I would like to check out myself if I ever got to London, to walk around White Castle and take a look at some of the areas that Jack the Ripper killed these women. Now the next one is in Edinburgh, Scotland, City of the Dead Ghost Tour. That would be interesting to check out as well. So here's the video on that one.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
to City of the Dead Tours and welcome to our Double Dead Tour. You may have already experienced this is not going to be your traditional history and ghost tour. I am not a traditional history and ghost tour guide. I don't do anything normally. I will rant, rave, gibber and go off in one and eventually remember that I have 45 people in front of me expecting me and them to be told something useful. You get to go to the underground city, a place that's dark, dingy, nasty, smelly, horrible, drippy. And did I mention dark? I did mention dark. Then we go on to the graveyard. The underground city has an entity that will willingly interact, abuse you slightly, tickle you, bite you, scratch you, punch you, and maybe knock you out. But that's lightweight. That's nothing compared to the grand finale. Mackenzie.
Okay, so that's that. Now remember, you have a lot of areas that have ghost tours, whether they're in Las Vegas, Nevada, or Houston, Texas, or Chicago, wherever. They all have ghost tours, and if you want to do something different for a date with your wife, or if you go ghost hunting with your spouse, it would be something that would be rather fun to do, just to do something different. So anyway, that's something you could do for the rest of the summer. Okay, so we're going to come up on the last segment of this segment, and it is cutting edge technology. Now this is something I like to keep an eye out because I just find it interesting to see what's up and coming. Being an old dude like me, it's kind of curious. I'm rather curious to see what the next generation is going to be doing with their lives as far as transportation or just even everyday appliances. So the first one, well, I should say the first video that we're going to actually see. Now, this is a concept that Volkswagen has been putting together. And this is also in China. Now, this is not an actual working model, but this is something that they are working on, and if they can actually perfect it, this would be unbelievable. Let's take a look at a flying car.
验一下，
可以可以。
我们来看一下。
他一直从小就是一个很有想法的孩子，总是有奇怪的点子冒出来。
王家从小就有那么
启动，真的起来了！上面感情车，简称悬浮车，它的设计运用了非常超强的。
从来没见过这样的汽车。
悬浮车有一个功能是自动驾驶，声控系统。
The flying car has been something that's been part of science fiction for the longest time. I think it will happen eventually. In my lifetime, it would be pretty cool to see. Who knows though? Now, you might be saying, well, that's impossible. Well, here's a video to demonstrate the theory on how the Volkswagen flying car could work. Let's see that video.
Volkswagen's hover car concept car was inspired by its People's Car project, an open source project in China where people submit ideas for new cars. Hover car was designed to be a solution to congestion in Chengdu. The car would hover along electromagnetic road networks. Such a project would take advantage of the abundance of minerals, especially magnetite, found around Chengdu. Hovercar features an auto-navigation mode and voice activation system. Safety sensors help it maintain a safe distance from nearby cars.
So there you go. It shows you that the impossible could be possible, and science fiction one day will be science fact. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll be able to remove heads from one body and transplant them to another body. Oh yeah, they actually did talk about that, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, we'll talk about that later, alright? So now, that's pretty much it for the show for this week. Now, remember, Big Time Paranormal on Facebook, and also Worldwide Paranormal Network, and it's on the same page about unity as far as having teams and individuals work together. Now, remember, if you have a convention or a group or something like that that you would like to get their name out there and advertise to get some exposure, we would love to be able to do that for you. Now remember, if you do a promo video for something like that, make sure not only do you have your team name, but also where you're at. It's very important, because I've seen some videos that they say who they are and what they do, but you don't know where they're from. And that's important, because people that are in your neighborhood might not even know that you exist there. So get that word out, and we would love to help you get that word out. So, without further ado, I want to thank you once again for being here. And remember, today is your day. Go out and make it happen. We'll see you next week.